Xiaohu, he needs to either just be a glue or just play a role player and just like, fill whatever needs to be filled for RNG. But we're going to waste absolutely no time. We're going to jump straight into picks and bans. And we have got the bans coming in. I'll go through them very, very quickly. We got Kaiza, Aphelios, Akali for TT, and then RNG taking out the Zoe, the Renekton, and the Ornn. You can already see they're trying to give Xiaohu some kind of a good time in topside.
Yeah, I mean, just trying to get rid of some of the more annoying champions in the top lane. But it looks like they're going to lock in nice and early here for Xiaohu anyway. Xiaohu has gone back towards this Gragas quite a bit in that top lane because, honestly, a decent weak side top laner that just has a bunch of sustain, very difficult to push in a lane. So he can just absorb this punishment in the top side of the map and let the rest of RNG do their thing. And Wei, I love Pantheon for Wei. Like, if I think of an early game aggressive jungler in the LPL, my mind instantly goes towards Wei. So the fact he's on the likes of this Pantheon where he can go for these level 2, level 3 dives that he was famous for on eStar, but also scale pretty well into that mid game now with the new Gore Drinker Pantheon. This is like prime territory for this early aggressive jungler on RNG.
And we can see they're locking in a lot of their picks straight away. The Olaf, the Jhin, the Leona, the Pantheon, the Gragas, and Misfortune all locked and loaded. So the 80 carries are off the table in terms of who they're going to be able to kind of, throw bans towards. But it looks like RNG, they're just going to keep throwing them in topside. I'm kind of okay with this. You kind of need to give Xiaohu as much leniency as possible. If you throw 4 bans in the topside, that's fine with me. If that works, that's cool.
Yeah, bot side though, Ming is going to have his champion pool pinched just a smidge. So Alistair taken off the board. Could end up seeing something like the Thresh taken away as well here. Some of the other champions that we've seen rise to priority there in the bot side set a little bit. But Ming does always have something like the fallback of his Morgana and these kind of things. Like Ming very proficient on this champion and does particularly well into the Leona as well.
Yeah, we'll see how they're kind of going for it now. Of course, we got to keep in mind, it could technically be a Gragas support. It could technically be a Pantheon support. So plenty of flexes available for RNG, still keeping the counter close to their chest as we wait for the final ban to come in. It's going to be the Orianna. So we will not get the Orianna Syndra handshake coming in to this new series.
Yeah, and no Zoe either. So we're kind of dipping down in priority now. You don't have the AP jungler here available, or maybe you can get an AP threat, so it's not like you're going to see the likes of the Lucian or anything like that coming in. It looks like they're just going to go back towards the other control mage that has been taken over in the meta, which is that Victor in the mid lane. Now, I'm curious to see what Captain decides to go for here, because Captain, you got the counter pick. This is a guy who likes to get aggressive in the mid laner, has played a lot of assassins, and the likes of LeBlanc has fit into his wheelhouse perfectly, and can do particularly well into the matchup against this Victor.
Yeah, we have seen Victor not to the best success so far in the LPL, and we're only 3 days in, but we already have about 9 games to or 9 series to look at, and plenty more games on top of that. So curious to see how Cryan works with this Victor and see if he can make something happen with it. While the LeBlanc, as you talked about, something that is 100% in Captain's wheelhouse, going to be bringing it in, and that's kind of a nice matchup for him now. TT have the lanes to kind of be aggressive, to look for those little bit of outplays and maybe catch RNG off guard.
Certainly, and expect a lot of pressure coming through from Bless now through this mid lane. We saw a little bit of it in Demacy Championship where this mid-jungle 2v2 could work well together, but they need to pick it up a notch here. I want to see them starting to get in aggressive on towards this Victor. Now, you can already see Cryan, he's opted in towards the cleanse, but okay, that's a last-second change coming in for Xiaohu.
Yeah.
Going for the Camille in the top lane.
Yeah, we talked about it. I mentioned that we had to pay respect to the fact that that could be a Gragas support, it could be a Pantheon support. Giving Xiaohu that counter pick is very, very nice. I really do hope he changes his summoners to a flash and teleport in a few seconds, but we'll wait. There's no lock-in until 20.
This is the new way of playing Camille. A lot of people are just happy to use the hook shot as their disengage tool, especially when you look at the likes of TT. It's not like you've got a huge amount of displacement that's going to catch him into a place that he doesn't really want to be. So instead, opting towards the Ignite, which is very good against the likes of this Aatrox, ups your dueling potential very high in that lane, and already the Camille does pretty well into the Aatrox as you're able to maneuver around a lot of the damage, but certainly you're not trying to go toe-to-toe with the Aatrox in the early stages of the game. Instead, look to farm up and become this big split push with pressure.
I completely agree with everything you just said. Xiaohu is not a native top laner, and that's why I have my little bit of issues with it overall. But I am more than happy to be proven wrong, and I am very excited to see this top lane. Definitely a lot more fun than watching two tanks and say Ornn and Sion smacking each other and not really doing much with it. Camille and Aatrox will have the agency. They will have the ability to be able to make plays happen on their own or with a little bit of help from their friends in the jungle. So we'll have to wait and see. But ladies and gentlemen, we will waste absolutely no more time. We're going to jump straight on to the Rift for game 1 of this best of 3 series. TT, aka Dominance Esports, they've been rebounded to TT, going into their first series versus RNG. Both teams desperately looking to try and get a win solidified here, as it just sets your season off so nicely. That always happens. You get the one LGD chant coming in. But TT, they're a new org. They got time to build a fan base. You know, you're never going to have as many fans as RNG as when you start. You're going to have to build that up with multiple, you know, MSIs and Worlds appearances. So they just got to build on it. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. And look, the best way to do that is to get yourself off to a nice start here against RNG. And you can see, kicking things off, that at least a very aggressive summoner spell choices coming through from Captain in the mid lane alongside that electrocute. So already he's going to be looking at a kill threat mid, and this is where TT are going to put their eggs in the Captain basket. Let's try and get this LeBlanc fed. Let's then try and have her take over in a lot of respects, because Cryan and Gala have the opportunity here to play reasonably far back and try and just outmaneuver the likes of Chalitza and Bless and make it difficult for them, if they're controlling the zones around objectives right, to really close the distance on towards RNG, especially with a Gragas support. So it's going to be on Captain to see if he can bypass that by setting up for LeBlanc, coming in over the wall, coming in from these creative angles, and getting a lot of burst damage on towards these squishier members of Orange.
See Xiaohu already trying to show his presence in this top side, saying to Chalitza that I am here. I know I should be mid, but I am here. And this is honestly an opportunity for Xiaohu to kind of show that he can, you know, prove the doubters wrong. Show, like, everyone got to go, why is he top lane? Why is he here? Blah, blah, blah. If he can prove them wrong, have a strong performance against some, you know, like, pretty standard and staple top laners from in the LPL, then it's a good sign for RNG going forward into the split.
Certainly, and that's the thing for a lot of this, is like, how well has Xiaohu adapted towards that top lane. Now, you've got Cryan there, who's definitely not as strong as Xiaohu in the mid lane, but look, I think in RNG's perspective, beggars can't be choosers in a lot of situations, and if they can make Xiaohu work, they've still got a reasonably strong mid laner in Cryan, and with Wei entering into the jungle now as well, that jungle feels like an upgrade for me. So I think RNG, if they can at least get Xiaohu's lane up and running here, which looks like Xiaohu's doing a really good job already of, this is going to bode well for RNG, and certainly going forward into 2021.
See now Cryan, not afraid of Captain, making sure he's keeping him at arm's length. I will say, however, Captain has got the slight mana advantage as we go into these first few minutes of the games. And now I want to see where the junglers focus. This was kind of the big question we wondered from RNG and also from Bless, is that where does he want to try and focus his efforts? Because right now you're looking at two very, very early game junglers who can make things happen. It's all about whether or not they will be given the opportunity, though, to make those things happen.
So right now I'd like to see Wade playing around this mid lane, and not so much in the capacity. Oh, actually, it looks like he's going to gank top, but not so much in the capacity to try and get a kill, but just to shut down Captain. Because honestly, what Captain's going to try and do is shove in mid lane aggressively and then try and look for roams more than likely, although
they're trading health bar for mana bar, it feels, in the mid lane. It feels like there's a... Oh, Chalitza needs to be careful. They do drop down a ward. Hookshot goes down. He's forced to flash. They will not be able to get anything else off him. The Ignite did go down. That is advantage now to RNG and specifically to Xiaohu in this top side.
And keep my eyes on this bot lane as well, though. So far, Gal and Ming have actually done a good job of controlling this bot lane. But this setup for RNG is super nice. Like, this is a heavily RNG favorite bot lane. Misfortune does incredibly well against the Jhin, which is why you saw that early boot start. Jins will often opt in towards boots and pots against Misfortune, so you can get out of the Make It Rain, take a little bit less damage, and you can survive the poke as well with the extra pots that you have available to you. And the problem is, it's not like you can try and break this poke anytime soon, because if you try and go in as Teen on this Leona, you get hit by the belly slam coming in from Ming, he walks away, and there's nothing you can do. So this bot lane heavily in favor of RNG, and it gives the opportunity, if Wei would like to start looking for some of these early dragons where they're shoving in and can just transition across into that early pressure.
Sadly, you know that when the LPL early game is relegated to farming and some odd skirmishes, that the meta's not in a fantastically early powered place. And I feel like that just comes down to, like we talked about a million times, that the mythic items are so powerful that if a team gets so far, as we saw with BLG versus eStar's game 2, if you get that mythic item super early, you're in a lot of hurt. You need to be making sure that you're at minimum just about 30 or 40 seconds behind your laning opponent in order to kind of keep the game relevant. So it's just not worth it going for those early game skirmishes if it's not 100% guaranteed.
But I like what Les has done here. He's opening up the ability for Captain to go for these early game skirmishes, shoving in mid, creating that priority for themselves, and off of the reset priority that Sam D and Teen had in the bot lane, they're able to go for the first dragon here. It's not like you're going to have RNG able to answer it all. And when we look towards the scaling that comes in these two teams, scaling is definitely in the favor of RNG. You've got Real in the top lane. Brian on this Victor is going to spike super hard off of 2 to 3 items as well, depending on the build that he decides to go. And overall, stacking up these dragons now for TT gives them the opportunity to force these dragon fights at a point where they're on an item and not in a hand.
See a bit of handbags on the bot side as Sam D and Teen definitely coming out on top of Gala and Ming, excuse me. Ning no longer plays, and LPL, he is off the register, but coming off of this now, you can see the Misfortune is, it's kind of the kind of thing. We're seeing a lot of Gragas being picked up because he does a lot of good things. He's able to be very, very safe, but I feel like Gragas is almost like a not as great early game Leona. It feels like he has a lot more kind of stipulations on what he can and can't do, whereas Leona, once she gets her level 3 combo, she can just go in. There's no questions about it, where he kind of needs his flash, his ultimate needs to be placed perfectly because it's a displacement, it's not a stun. Just feels like people kind of go for it when Leona is already taken.
Well, in this case, it's very much for the disengage tools. Like, in this lane, it's more so about, hey, I don't want Teen to have any sort of impact in this bot lane. So, Teen's saying, alright, that's cool. We're just going to go and try and have some impact in this top lane. Control ward there, so Xiaohu doesn't know that this is going on, but with the wave pushing his favor, he backs right away.
Ooh, actually catch this out as well. That's good information now for RNG. They now know exactly where Teen and Bless are. Actually going to pop the ultimate. The Grand Skyfall comes in. Jump onto Wei. That's just going to be an easy cleanup there with the Hextech ultimatum. Xiaohu, that's the kind of information you need right there. Recognizing that the jungler and the support weren't available, so they just completely commit onto it. That's honestly perfectly set up.
And this is what I love about Wei's, his ability to react to these certain situations where it's like, hey, look, he was in the middle of vacuum, wanted to go for the reset, but instead goes for this heavy trade and manages to make it work. Or sorry, goes for the ultimate in the top lane and manages to make it work. The reason heavy trading was in my head was that's what's happening in the mid lane. Captain, as he said, tried to consistently trade his health for the mana pool of Cryan, but honestly, Cryan has done a fantastic job of being able to trade very effectively against this LeBlanc and not giving the LeBlanc the opportunity to run away with this matchup.
Yeah, Xiaohu getting a kill up on top side as well. That's going to feel pretty damn good for him. He's going to make him feel a bit more comfortable. Again, not native to the top side. Definitely still learning the ways. And will make a couple of mistakes. But so far, having a fairly solid, clean early game. To be expected when you have a Camille Pantheon kind of combination duo. While that was happening, you lost the Dragon, you lost the Rift Herald if you're on RNG. TT did pick up those 2 objectives, so it's kind of power and gold now for power and gold later, effectively traded between the two teams.
So let's look at where that leaves us, right? Because if you're looking at, okay, well, power now being traded for later, like, RNG want to go for that later skating. However, you still have a lot that you can work off of. The Luden's Tempest spike and the Gale Force spike coming through for Galen up bot lane is definitely something that you can play pretty heavily around. And if you are able to find yourself in a favorable position where you've got control of River, you've got Chalitza, Bless, Teen, who've all got to run through some of these smaller corridors in the jungle or trying to get access to River. The ultimates from both Cry and Gala and the zone control offered by the W of the Victor means that they can definitely look to fight early. However, I like that they're just playing this nice and safe. Cryan has gone for the Ionian Boots of Lucidity. He's not going for this early game, or at least he's not trying to ramp up overly aggressively at this stage by forcing that very quick Luden's Tempest so he can fight. Instead, he's just looking to go for these, at least have the ability Haste to go for these quick trades against Captain every time Captain goes in aggressive.
See, they're just trying to trade back and forth. Just, let's set health bars, summoners, if they can possibly get them out of each other, a bit of health, a bit of mana. It's just all a big kind of, you know, mess of a game, as it's just about trying to find that pressure, trying to find the opportunity and see if you can make something now that you've gotten that pressure and make something happen in a different lane. It's similar to the last series where it's not about the mid lane necessarily popping off in a 1v1. It's about what they can do around themselves that helps out the rest of their team.
Which is why I want to see Bless do something. Like, this is where I want to see Bless, like, getting into the mid lane, opening up the opportunity for Captain to get these roams. Because if you've got the level 6 hit in bot lane and you got Bless, Captain roaming down there, hey, terror dives galore. Let's go and make this happen. Now, it can suck against someone like Gragas, but when you've got 4 members with the amount of mobility that's there, you can definitely make that play.
Xiaohu getting a little frisky up at top side. He has got the pretty damn solid safety of his jungler very, very nearby. The Grand Skyfall is available as well, so Wei can join in the blink of an eye to be rushed to Avengers welcome his top laner. But because of that, because he is up on the top side, they are going to start up the dragon. Elitza just has to flash away. They are trying to slow him down. Hextech Ultimatum is there and available, and there is no escape for you, Aatrox. They are bullying this top lane. They are giving up objectives, though, so TT not letting this go down for free.
I mean, look, you can take Xiaohu out of the mid lane, but RNG's still going to play around him. So 2 kills already for Xiaohu on the top side. 2 dragons going across. I don't mind this from RNG. We said already, look, they're looking at the late game scaling, not trying to overforce things, especially like only a lost chapter for your Victor and Moonquiver coming in for Gala. They're not at a point where they're reasonably in a position to fight. So take it easy. Look to punish Chalitza's in this top lane, especially the fact he has no flash, and you're able to lock him down with the Hextech Ultimatum. And just rinse and repeat here from RNG. Keep this going. And now let's see what Xiaohu can do when we get to the later portion.
Bullet time going to be used to clear the wave off in the bot side. Should be able to still gleam a couple of those plates, giving them over to Sam D. As you can see, 160 gold each. Will not be able to finish off the tower just yet. And despite this, you know, the time and effort that's been given up towards this top side, the game is still, or sorry, it's still very, very close for TT. Like we said, they've gotten those 2 objectives. They were able to funnel a lot of gold there into the Jhin and the Olaf. He's now got his Gore Drinker. There are still very big positives for TT, despite them not picking up the traditional kills to make it look like they're kind of, you know, coming ahead.
The big problem for TT, though, is like, their mid to late game shot calling sucks. Like, I'm just gonna put it out there. It's pretty abysmal. Like, I was watching this scratching my head from Demacia Championship. Now, a lot of things have changed from Demacia Championship to this point. Especially, I mean, even looking at the AD carry, we had Cherub who was filling in there. It wasn't like it was Sam D who's playing, but honestly, I wasn't impressed with what I saw. So, when I look at TT, I want to see, are we still going to have these same issues where Teen is getting caught out in weird positions, you're not really having Chalitza set up the team fights right? Like, there's a lot here that I still want to check out and kind of ponder about for TT as we go in towards this mid-game. The other thing as well is just, like, reminding that these are a very new squad. As Wait, not going to make it work, but Ming's behind him.
They can still do it, yeah.
No.
Ming's behind him, flash
Sammy.
and everything available to him. Sam D in a little bit of trouble. He's going to take it down to about half HP as the minion wave now starts crashing, and this is going to be far, far too easy for the side of RNG. They pick themselves up a very simple kill. Very nicely done, and these are the kind of small little things now. That kill leads into extra turret plates, it leads into extra pressure. This is where those kills really start to come out, and as you said, Wei's looking great. It's honestly been fantastic to watch him on this Pantheon.
Wei was my favorite part of eStar, like by far. I was fanatical about this guy when we saw him come in the spring. Such like perfect execution of such a simple idea. It was just gank bot level 3. Like, you think, well, if I know that's going to happen, well, they're not going to be able to make it work. It took an entire split for people to figure that out. And it was because of how good Xiaoxi and Wei worked together. But now we're seeing that, look, Wei is so incredibly strong at these early game junglers where he's able to go for these ganks. He's not overly worried about trying to farm up or trying to play into that more Graves and Lily and Talia style. He wants to have an impact in these lanes, and you're seeing it now. Divine Sunderer picked up for Xiao, he's going towards that more tank-orientated Camille rather than going for something like the Triforce. Divine Sunderer just gives you the lifesteal and that extra little bit of help. Plus, you can opt in towards something like the Sterix next if you want to, and try and go towards the I'm a beefcake for these team fights. However, it looks like he's going towards the Ravenous Hydra with that double longsword picked up.
Yeah, and look, you know, you talked about how, yes, you know this is going to happen, it doesn't matter because the execution. It's similar to, like, you know, old school RNG where they were like, well, we know you're going to try and feed Uzi, but it doesn't matter because Uzi's still going to get fed. You can't do anything about it. So even though you know it's going to happen, you can try and put stuff into it. Sometimes it's just they know this system so damn well. They know what to do when whoever it is comes in, and they know how to set up for it so properly. It doesn't matter if you know or not. They're still going to do it, and that's just the beauty of how, you know, some of these teams have been able to kind of, you know, make what would be perceived as a weakness into a strength.
And I'd just like to point out for some people who have said it to me on Twitter, see, I don't have an RNG curse. Just because I say it weird doesn't mean that I've cursed this team, all right? They're doing well right now. They're looking pretty good.
First of all, it is 16 minutes into the game. Do not jinx them. Secondly, we have seen far bigger leads be taken away from people. But secondly, this is also just how we say it in Ireland. I don't understand why people have such a big thing about it, but I do appreciate the RNGs, you know, like the big RNGs that people put in chat. So it's actually quite nice to see.
It did make me giggle. It was very, very funny.
It's honestly, it's recrecognition of a culture. JK.
Yeah, the Irish are famous for their oranges, you know? But look,
that's what I'm thinking.
TT anyway.
But anyway, yes.
Yeah, coming in towards this mid lane. Rift Herald will be popped down. I'm not a big fan of this. I mean, look, you can get the charge here, but it's not like you're going to be able to take the turret. RNG are able to take this with minimal effort, are able to shut this down. And look at the amount of people that have grouped here from TT. You're giving Xiaohu pressure on the spot side. You haven't really got mid priority now to go and move into River. Like, this is what I was talking about. TT, when we get towards these mid game points, look like they kind of read the first few pages of the book and then got, do you know what, I'll look at the Spark Notes instead, and haven't really got the memo as to how this works.
Gala needs to be so careful. Ming with a great flash though, and immediately walking in front of him, he will go down to the ignite. Ming tried everything he could to protect his AD carry. Very nicely done by him. They do trade it 1 for 1. Dragon is still up and available. You can see RNG just want to try and get that one. Stop the ticking time bomb that would be the Cloud Soul going in favor of TT. And yeah, like, I feel like that Rift Herald play was just a little bit too soon is probably the way I put it. Now, can't talk about that just yet. They're going to jump straight into Ming, who gets deleted straight away. Now they're going to jump straight. Wei gets a kill on the Bless. There's a jungler dead now for TT. Sam D can't really get into this fight. He knows that it's just a bit too risky with the control you get with someone like a Victor. Crying now going to try and chase down the LeBlanc while Sam D is being chased down, but he takes away a kill on his own. Xiaohu will be able to pick him up eventually. Hookshot misses though, and now it's a little bit dangerous. Sam D is not going to be able to survive. Xiaohu, those mechanics are a little bit wishy-washy, but he ends up getting the kill. They will take the dragon.
Just making it interesting, you know, just trying to make sure that you stay on the edge of your seat for what has been a very slow game. So I'm happy that at least we got a little bit of action. Either way, nice play coming through from RNG. I expected TT to try and take this fight. As we talked about, look, Luden's Tempest completed for Crying is fantastic, but trying to see if maybe they could make things work before they got Gala back in the fight and had access to that big team fight ultimate. But honestly, Crying's in a perfect position here. Sam D can't go really up too far because Crying is able to zone him out for quite a bit of this fight. And once he has that fourth shot, he's forced to back away. No curtain call, so he can just open up in this fight. And as well, Wei doing a great job of killing off Bless and soaking so much damage with that Aegis Assault, so nothing really is able to go on to anyone else in the fight.
Again, more advantages. 4,000 gold lead. They stop the dragon stackings. They get themselves their own little one. That's a nice little bit of ability haste onto the ultimates of the Victor and, of course, the bullet time. A lot of, like, big kind of cooldowns that you don't want to have to be thinking about, and that early Drake can do a lot for you. So overall, positives for RNG. TT I like the idea of what they tried to do. They definitely had the, you know, kind of solid things, but like you said, the early Rift Herald didn't really work out for them. They didn't really get the full pressure you want, because I understand what they've tried to do. The standard call, if you were to call it, is when going for Drake and you're on third one, use Rift Herald to get pressure mid so they can't commit to both. You get either or, but they just did it too quick. They just kind of dropped it and went, oh wait, we're not set up for Dragon yet. We can't actually contest this right now. So it just was a little bit jumbled up. They lose top lane turret in favor of gaining mid lanes. So overall, TT not out of it just yet, but RNG still looking solid. I feel like with this Ravenous Hydra finished up as well for the Camille, Xiaohu's going to be a massive threat to the backline.
And especially now when you think about the globals that are available on RNG as well, like Xiaohu, massive threat bot side, but also will pretty much at all points in time have this threat of Wei to join in with them as well. So this is where you start to see the pressure that RNG can have might be just too much for TT to handle. And if they're trying to send multiple members down towards the spot lane to deal with Xiaohu, well then look towards Baron as the rest of RNG. And when you've got the likes of the Victor and the Misfortune, you can get through this relatively quickly.
Xiaohu, a nice little cheeky ward to spot out team. Knows that he's probably getting collapsed upon, needs to back himself away, was very far up in that lane, but that gives give free time for the side of RNG to get themselves some jungle camps, get some deep vision in the top side of the blue. Thing.
Look,
gonna start doing a little bit of jungling.
Just as we were talking about, like a 2.3 thousand gold lead just on Xiao. He's essentially the entirety of RNG's lead right now, and an item already ahead entirely of Chalitza. And this is the point in time where not only from items but also just with sheer levels, Xiaohu is going to be taking over in this matchup. Has the ignite there as well, so terror dives, a lot of pressure on towards Chalitza right now, and I'm not entirely sure that they are actually going to be able to deal with this. So I want to, and when you don't have the likes of like a second teleport available for Captain in the mid lane or another global on your own team, TT are with their backs against the wall in what has already been them struggling in the shot calling lane.
Yeah, we need to see a little bit more light at the end of the tunnel from TT on the shot calling side of things. But again, not looking terribly right now. Still very much in their wheelhouse to kind of come back into this. We've seen Jins pop off today, you know, at the very least. And we've seen how easy it is for someone like a Leona to get on top of your back line. So overall, still opportunities and you know, potential setups for them if they are able to find them. But I feel like with Wei and Cryan and Gala as well, like these guys have been around for a little bit now and have gone against the best of the best. They'll know the faux pas, if you will, of positioning and where you can and can't go. It's just about whether or not TT can make an unforced error out of RNG.
I think RNG might have made the error. Cryan is already up in this top lane. He's not going to be able to join. Captain was in a fantastic spot to get a flank there, but unfortunately not quite able to finish up. Looking to see if he can get that chain, but maybe with the positioning here from Victor, TT can force this dragon, put themselves on towards the third Drake, and potentially sneak something out from RNG's.
Yeah, we're down to a bit of a farming game. Both teams kind of want to get up to their second, maybe second and a half item. They want to see if they can get as much value out of this next dragon fight that will be happening in 30 seconds. And honestly, from TT, there might be an argument to just kind of let this one go, unless you can find a pick. They do get the explosive cast down. They flash immediately down on top of the mid lane, and they trade support for mid lane. Bullet time across most of the team as well. Oh, you flew too close to the sun, TT, and you got burned by RNG. They are not done yet either. The Skyfall comes down. Jin is dead. And RNG, they don't need the dragon. They can go straight for Baron after this mid lane.
Yeah, they're going to turn straight over towards it, and that was just, as you said, Captain feeling the pressure to make something happen, knowing that this game is starting to run away with them to quite a large extent, and unfortunately gets caught out. Nice barrel from Ming, sets up the play, and all of TT get baited into the bullet time of that.
Yeah, it just felt like a little bit of an overstretch, and like you said, the shot calling of TT has definitely been a question and will always be a question until we see some kind of bigger improvements from them. But they will gain themselves 4 kills, a Baron, and they can start moving towards that Air Drake as well. But he just looked too juicy. He was too juicy to give up.
Yeah, you can see there, Ming gets the barrel back, instant flash from Wei to follow up, and TT, you've overcommitted here. You're not getting out of there as Blessed. You're already locked up in the Hextech Ultimatum. Leona has gone too deep as well, and unfortunately for them, you've got so much follow-up from Wei as well to pick off the last 2 kills. RNG now, rinse and repeat. Hey, Dragon, it's still dangling there, juicy for TT, but once bitten, twice, you're piecing the hell out of them.
Yeah, you have to kind of just give respect right there. I think Ming was already on the map and kind of zoning away. They couldn't really 100% for certain determine whether or not the rest of RNG had reset or were coming straight to that Dragon Pit. But now, looking across the items, the QSS onto Gala, he's got a little of extra safety. And speaking of extra safety, you've got the stopwatch onto Xiaohu on this top side as well. And these are going to be pretty good, tools for the side of RNG to be able to, even if they do make a mistake, they can correct it or at least realign themselves so that they're not going to get punished that hard.
I like how RNG are approaching this mid game though, like having Wei and Cryin working together to take their top bot side. You've also got Xiao who's working on this top lane as well. Like you're spreading TT thin, and that's their worst nightmare because they don't have the tools to like 1v1 people. Maybe Captain can, but Sam D and team certainly can't go aggressive without the support of their team. And it means that RNG are able to go for these aggressive plays with Baron now and get the remainder turrets there.
And that is the second tier 2 turret they have picked up now. They're going to try and rotate into this mid lane. They still got a good minute and a little bit on this Baron buff, so all outer turrets will almost certainly go down. Captain trying to see if he can get something on the Xiaohu, again, who has no flash, but is doing just fine with just his hook shot. This late into the game, level 15 should have plenty of points into that to decrease its cooldown. So overall, still feeling fairly safe now with both three lanings, 1-3-1 being utilized here by RNG, trying to get the maximum value out of this Baron. They still have it for another 45 seconds. They can get a lot here.
That's the engaged team. Soaks up that stun from Wei, but it looks like everyone's just going to back up. I say that.
Yeah, Teen has to flash, does not want to get caught out there. There's the curtain call, but the people are still very, very healthy here. This is going to be used to trap people in, but there is the captain going in, trying to just eliminate Gala. He stays alive with just a sliver of HP, and sadly for you, LeBlanc, that does not help you with the passive there, and that is with the Gala. With Gala going back, they may be able to try and take more and more of these inhibitors, because right now they're still looking pretty damn healthy. Cryin is still full HP.
Xiaohu can TP in if they want to try and end this as well, but it looks like inhibitors are just going to be the call here. Gala walking his way back towards the base. There's one tower remaining when it comes to these inhibitors, and TT trying to get aggressive on, but I don't know if you want to take this fight.
I don't think you can take this fight right now. They're trying to jump on the Xiaohu, who just goes golden. We talked about the stopwatch earlier there, and there is the second fight coming in. Oh, you talked about the shot calls, and they didn't look at the items. Another explosive cast is beautifully set up to put the Aatrox right into the middle and the waking arms of the rest of his team. The middle inhibitor just fall. That's going to be 3 inhibitors down. They haven't got a Baron buff. There's only the captain left, the man who has to stay with the sinking ship for this game, and he will unfortunately be dropped. And that is going to be game 1 going over in fairly convincing fashion to RNG.
The Nexus will fall, and RNG will pick up game 1 of this series. Very, very well played from start to finish by RNG, and it really did kind of kick things off in the draft, where we saw the shenanigans coming in, where, I mean, even I said it, I thought this was going to be a Gragas top lane for Xiaohu. It's been his fallback in the Demacia Championship, but swapping that in towards the hands of Ming at the last second, getting this Camille in the top lane, which not only did a great job against the Aatrox, specifically with the help that was coming through from Wei, but also shutting down the kill threat of Captain, because Captain wasn't able to go